Today, we're diving into one of the most ambitious, groundbreaking, and, let's be honest, controversial defense projects in a long time. The Golden Dome, what's being called America's next-generation missile defense shield.
And look, the stakes here, they could not be higher. This single line from Reuters really captures the weight of this thing perfectly. We aren't just talking about a better shield. We're talking about a move that could completely rewrite the rules for what happens in space.
So with that in mind, what is the Golden Dome exactly? Let's get right into the heart of what some are calling a shield in the stars.
At its core, the Golden Dome is designed to be the ultimate defensive umbrella. It's meant to be an answer to this whole new generation of weapons we're seeing. Not just the old-school ballistic missiles, but also those incredibly fast hypersonic weapons, and the low-flying cruise missiles that are literally designed to sneak past our current defenses.
Now, an idea this big doesn't just pop up overnight. Its roots actually go all the way back to the 1980s, to President Reagan's Star Wars program. You fast forward to January 2025, and an executive order officially kicks the project off, but with this incredibly ambitious goal. Have the whole thing up and running by January 2029, that's a really tight turnaround.
So we know its mission, but how would a shield this complex actually work in practice? Well, it all boils down to three key pillars of defense that have to work together perfectly. The entire system is built on this simple but really powerful idea: defense in layers. You've got a layer in space, another on the ground, and the whole thing is coordinated by a single, incredibly powerful AI brain.
And here's how those layers are supposed to sync up. First, you've got satellites in orbit that provide the first line of defense, trying to take out a threat right after launch when it's moving slowest. Now, if anything gets through that, it then has to face our existing ground systems, like THAAD. But the real game changer here is the AI. It acts as the system's central nervous system, assessing threats and coordinating the entire response from space to the ground in milliseconds, a speed no human could ever hope to match.
All right, a system this complex is obviously going to be unbelievably expensive. So that begs the question, why even build it? This brings us to the high-stakes thinking behind it, and what supporters would call the necessary price of security.
The strategic logic for the Golden Dome is pretty clear. First and foremost, it's a direct response to the sophisticated new missiles being developed by countries like China, Russia, North Korea, and Iran. Second, it's just a massive technological leap for space-based defense. And finally, let's face it, a system on this scale is absolutely going to reshape global military strategy for decades to come.
But that level of ambition comes with a price tag that is, and there's no other word for it, staggering. While the initial estimates are lower, some long-term projections suggest the total cost over 20 years could hit $500 billion. To get this whole thing off the ground, an initial $25 billion has been set aside. But, and this is a huge but, every single dollar after that has to be approved by Congress year after year. And that is by no means a guarantee. It's going to be the subject of some pretty intense political fights.
So you've got a $500 billion price tag and massive global implications? You can bet that's going to light a fire under the debate. And the critics are absolutely lining up, both here at home and all around the world.
The criticism is really coming from two different directions. Here in the US, it's mostly about the money. Is it really worth that much, given everything else we need to pay for? And then there are the tech people saying, hey, can we even build this on such a quick timeline? But abroad, the concern is totally different. It's the fear that this could kick off a brand new arms race by weaponizing space. China's been especially direct, saying this whole thing risks turning space into a battlefield.
So, with such strong arguments on both sides, where does this all go from here? The project's future is really up in the air, hanging on what happens in the final frontier of policy.
The whole project is basically balancing on a knife's edge, and it all hinges on three things. First, leadership. U.S. Space Force General Michael Gwetly is the one steering the ship. Second, policy. The program has to survive those intense budget battles in Congress every single year. And third, technology. Its success depends on breakthroughs in AI and interceptors that, frankly, don't even exist yet.
And all of that brings us to the ultimate question that this whole project forces us to ask. When you look at the goals, the unbelievable cost, and the strong international reaction, you have to wonder, is the Golden Dome something that will truly make a nation more secure, or will its very existence kick off a dangerous new arms race in the final frontier?